what are some of your personal experiences when you've seen cases where someone has the documentation versus cases where somebody hasn't? I mean, can you actually give us some stories, some examples?
I think the classic, and I brought this up before. The classic is a fellow that's, looking at his second or third DWI, going into court, married with 2 or 3 kids. The standard situation is if he's going in front of a judge that has a history of sending people away, he probably can't afford anybody other than a public defender, and a lot of those folks try to help. A lot of times it ends up just coming out of plea bargains. So this guy would go up in front of the public defender. We'd seen this happen in the past where the wife would say, we really need this man at home. Our family's going to be on Medicaid. We can't pay our bills. His kids love him. I love him. Please let him stay out. Well, if that was the case, every person with 2 or 3 or 4 DWIs or more who had kids that loved them and the wife that wanted them home, they wouldn't go to prison, would they? Well, if they come in to the addictionbuster.org website and do some of the things we tell them to do and follow some of our advice, and we are in no way trying to take the place of an attorney or a doctor. We're just giving you examples of what people might do if they have these situations. If they follow some good suggestions, this time when the wife goes to the court, she would get up and here's something she could say to the judge if this fellow had done all these things. Your Honor, I don't know if this is my husband's last chance with the court, but this is his last chance with his family. He's done some things that gives us a great deal of hope. He's in a 12-step program. He's moved into a halfway house. The pharmacist here at Walgreens has been documented. He's taking Antabuse 3 days a week. He's seen his sponsor. He's got a 30-day token, and he hopes to do 90 meetings in 90 days. We hope that the court leaves this man in this recovery program so he can come back and be the husband and father that he should be. A situation like that, the judge is much more apt, hopefully, to leave a man in a significant, well-documented program where the pharmacist is checking off his Antabuse, he's doing his meetings, he's got his token, he's going to do 90 meetings in 90 days, and he's living in a halfway house under controlled environment. So the guy stays out. He can be with his wife and kids and he'll get sober. Sure, prison is a way to punish these people, but prison always isn't the best way for recovery from alcohol and drugs and other addictive behaviors.
Your 20-year experience of working with patients with addiction, what are some of the worst cases that you've dealt with?
Some really sad ones. I had a fella come to my office, went out in the parking lot. First visitor, he came in. This guy had fired his dope out in the parking lot, heroin. When I did his drug screen, urine drug screen, heroin, diacetylmorphine, is metabolized out of the system into monoacetylmorphine rapidly. And it was kind of like, wow, this guy tested positive for heroin. This guy tested positive for cocaine. It was just like he tested positive for everything on our dipstick. And I was just up front with the fellow talking to him. I said, it's amazing. I've never seen a drug screen quite this bad. He was kind of proud of it, We chit-chatted, tried to help him chit-chat. He had some legal issues we were going to confront, work on this as a team. They found the guy dead in his car a week later. He'd overdosed, of course. He was to the point where he was actually disenfranchised. And, any treatment center has sad stories, but the ones that die really stick out the most. Another one that's scary, these kids that do the Oxycontin. Had a young girl who'd been addicted to oxys. They call it hillbilly heroin. She was doing about 80 milligrams a day, which is a significant amount of Oxycontin. And, it's kind of like doing 10 Percodan extra strengths at a time, and these people grind it up and fire it, or they snort it. But she'd been locked up for about 2 months, and she got out. 22-year-old girl, got her same dose, not understanding that her liver had decreased its ability to detoxify the drug. She did the same dose, overdosed, and died at 22. Another group of addicts and alcoholics, in particular, that are bad, are the young guys that like to drink and get into huffing when they're boozing it. And a lot of times huffers end up, I knew a couple of young kids, young guys ended up being disenfranchised drifters, huffing inhalants and toluene and benzene-containing substances, and it basically just homogenizes their brains, where they just basically lose normal intellectual functions. So, the disease kills, and one of the problems is a lot of these people that have these problems don't know where to reach out and get help. So, I want to give these people an affordable, professional mechanism for help. And what better way than on the internet, and to provide them with real life, real time information, products, and things that they can use, put in their hand to have some help, where they don't have to be ashamed to get help or have to die for no reason. Regrettably, society still looks down their nose at addicts and alcoholics. I mean, what difference is it with somebody with an eating disorder, not bulimia or anorexia nervosa or purging, obesity, eating addiction, nicotine addiction? My God, between those two, those are the killers. These are addictive diseases that are killing people. And, if the kids grow up with eating addictions, then they're type 2 diabetics, and then they've got coronary artery disease, and they're going to be, victims of that entire situation. So I've seen a lot of people die from addictive disease. And who's to say that eating addiction isn't killing this country? That's another issue that people can get help with. But I don't know, it just seems like medical science is about 20 years behind caring for these people and really identifying these problems. Why, I don't know. There's too few people that care.
So from your experience, what would you say are the most critical factors? What would have the most impact on helping them to succeed?
Well, when you've treated people in these areas, I don't care if it's like eating, nicotine, crack cocaine, compulsive spending, pornography addiction, be it whatever the addicting chemical substance or behavior is. Probably number one, they have to know they have a problem. Okay, then if they actually come to the point where they realize that they have a problem, and of course that's breaking through the denial, you have to have a willingness to change. Okay, with the willingness to change, that's great. And then, in the classical template of this is willingness to change and then change. I would say you have to have something in there in between the willingness to change and change. And that is, after you have the willingness to change, the intellectual ability to understand that you really can't do it alone. Now then, if you go, well, I'm a strong man or I'm a strong woman, I can lose this 80 pounds, or I can throw these cigarettes down, or I can break up my crack pipe or throw my cards away, whatever it is. Well, if you have broken through your denial and you have a willingness to change, then I guess you'd have to ask yourself, how successful have I been doing things my way? Well, if you'd been really successful doing things your way, you probably wouldn't be going through these mental acrobatics. And I wasn't able to do it myself. Now, I'm not saying there aren't people out there that might not be able to break through their heroin addiction, their obesity, whatever it is, by themselves. But generally speaking, from this guy's viewpoint, from the thousands of people I've treated, 99% of the people need some help. That's why I developed this program. It's like a total recovery experience. We have the Addiction Buster formulas, we have the evaluations, we have the recovery programs, we have the membership, we've got the blogs, we've got the videos, we have the documentation they need, the certificate of program participation, and we have the information to help them with the wreckage in their life. Okay, so you got to have the help, but of course, what good's the help if you can't access it or you can't afford it? So that's that part I'm trying to help with, is to give them what they need to do this and making it reasonable where they can afford it for bucks. People don't have thousands of dollars to spend on flying to some cool place in California or taking a month off work. People, that's unreasonable. And they can do it with us confidentially. You know what else? We're open 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
What do you really hope to accomplish with all of this?
Well, as a recovering alcoholic and addict myself who's had significant issues in my life, I know the feeling of hopelessness that people have when they have addictive disease in their life. I'm not just talking about the crackhead. I'm talking about the person who's got health issues, maybe from nicotine addiction, worrying about seeing their grandkids. There are people who are obese with type 2 diabetes that can't stop eating. Okay, so I'm looking at the whole scale. I want to bring hope to those people that feel like they don't have any hope. Okay, I want to provide a site where they can take care of some of the problems in their life. Not just getting clean and sober, but even give them some suggestions on problems that they may have that affect other parts of their life. I want to have an affordable treatment center online. I want it to be professional. And I also want to be able to put something in people's hands that they can use. I mean, we're going to provide those tools for like the total recovery experience. And right now, with the economy the way it is and insurance coverage for people, going to your EAP or HR person may not always be the safe thing to do to protect your job. So I'm going to provide a private place where they can go and get help and take the fear out of the equation. And I hope to save people's lives because, trust me on this, addiction can be a fatal disease. And I want to help people to avoid their death and the nightmare that goes with addiction.
Somebody who's watching this video here today and either they're struggling with an addiction of their own and they're looking for some real tangible help, or maybe somebody who's looking for something for a loved one or a friend, and they genuinely want to try to find an answer, a solution, a program, a product, whatever means possible to really help somebody that they love. What would you want to tell them right now if you could look them in the eye and just speak to them face to face?
Don't give up hope. And be it the person wanting help for the individual or the suffering addict, whatever their addiction may be too. There was a time in my life where I couldn't even imagine myself without my drug or behavior of choice. There is a better way, and there is hope. You can't give up. But nothing changes if nothing changes. If you don't go to addictionbuster.org, go somewhere. Get help. You have to make the effort. If you don't make the effort, nothing's going to get better on its own. Addiction doesn't cure itself, and it's a progressive disease. So at least try to do something. Because if you don't, your situation is only going to get worse.
Great. Well, thank you once again, Tom. I look forward to speaking with you again and just hearing some more success stories and just hearing how addictionbuster.org and these products are truly transforming and changing people's lives across the globe. So, thanks a lot for your time. I appreciate what you're doing to try to help people with these situations.
Thank you.